Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Iuliia Skybytska, and I'm a researcher at the Les Kurbas National Centre for Theatre Art in Kyiv. I would like to thank you, everyone, for joining this session. Today, I will speak about Ukrainian theatre, but more specifically about how theatre becomes resistance, how it gives voice to those living through war, how it carries memory, trauma, and truth across borders. And now, since 2022, Ukrainian wartime drama has begun to appear on European stages. Let me start with this. Many of us remember this image, a shelter, a massacre, a cultural symbol turned into a mass grave. But it is not the only case. During the 3 years of the full-scale invasion, 2,205 objects of Ukraine's cultural infrastructure suffered damage, of which 409 were completely destroyed. There were also 41 theaters, cinemas, and philharmonic societies damaged. During these 3 tragic years, the war claimed the lives of 182 Ukrainian artists, cultural workers, and 97 media professionals. Among them were the world-famous opera singer Vasil Slipak, killed in combat, actor Pavlo Lee, shot while helping civilians, director Oleg Bobalo died defending the country in the armed forces of Ukraine. This is not just destruction of infrastructure. It is the destruction of artistic voices, of memory, of culture. So why is it important to speak of the theatre during wartime? Because the war is also fought with stories, and theatre is a public, collective, embodied form of storytelling. It can oppose erasure. It can speak what is censored. It can preserve what is lost. As a researcher of drama, I see contemporary Ukrainian plays not only as artistic work, but as cultural counter-offensive. Now, where do these plays come from? Since 2014, and especially since 2022, Ukrainian playwrights have produced a vast body of dramatic texts. As a researcher of drama, I see contemporary Ukrainian plays not only as a work of art, but also as a cultural counter-offensive. Ukrainian playwrights have joined the fight against the invaders through the language of drama, creating the so-called dramaturgical front and writing a huge number of works for theatre. Many of them appear in anthologies, curated collections that document the war in completely different ways, using different genres. Let me briefly introduce the 6 key anthologies at the core of this research. Maidan, before and after 2016, born as a reaction to the event of Maidan and annexation of Crimea and the outbreak of hostilities in Donbass. This anthology reflects the transition from protest to war, combining realism with symbolism. Labyrinth of Ice and Fire, 2018. It is a more experimental response to hybrid warfare, as well as a kind of artistic foresight for the Great War. Anthology 24. It is a digital collection curated by Parade Fest that captures the lightning-fast political response to a full-scale invasion. Without them, short wartime plays about grief, loss, and identity. The Unnamed War is a collection of 20 plays by the Les Kurbas Centre, grouped into several themes: the Eve, the invasion, women's voices, living creatures, dialogues with Haron, and the city of Mary. And the last one is Artistic Pantheon, biographical plays about cultural icons, such as Lesia Ukrainka and Les Kurbas. These anthologies are more than archives. They are acts of resistance. They collect not just plays, but strategies of survival, documentary realism, autofiction, ritual, and fragmentation. This literary field has also begun to receive academic attention. The scholar Olena Bondareva, for example, in her article Contemporary Ukrainian Military Drama, described this theatrical corpus as a dramatic counteroffensive, a reclaiming of cultural agency through playwriting. Olena Bondareva also analyzes the virtual anthology The Unnamed War as a form of literary memory work. Her scholarship offers a framework for understanding this new dramaturgy as both political and poetic. So before we speak of performances, let us acknowledge Ukrainian drama is already a strong, self-aware literary field. Now let's look how it travels. Let us now take a closer look at how Ukrainian plays actually enter the European theater space, not just symbolically, but through specific production formats. In my research, I identify 5 key forms of presence in the European public sphere: stage readings, performances, publications, critical media reception, and academic engagement. Let's begin with the most immediate and mobile one, stage readings. This is the most immediate format, light, responsive, often driven by solidarity and urgency. What makes stage reading effective is their speed and minimal requirements. No sets, no full rehearsal process, just a text, a translator, and a group of readers. Often readings are held in response to current events, creating immediate space for cultural solidarity. However, they also have limitations. They are usually one-time events, not part of a repertoire. They require quick translation, which is often difficult to obtain, and public engagement can be limited, especially in the language is unfamiliar or if the format isn't widely advertised. In any case, readings are the vital first step, a kind of cultural landing point. So far, there are 2 key initiatives that have ensured the presence of Ukrainian drama in this form. Post-DRAM. Post-DRAM, curated in Ukraine, initiated by playwrights and my colleagues from the Les Kurbas National Centre for Theatre Arts in Kyiv, Neda Neždana and Alexander Viter. Dramatic actions in support of Ukraine were held around the world, connecting writers, curators, and readers inside and outside Ukraine. These actions took place everywhere from Chernihiv and Kyiv to Hong Kong and Melbourne, and were organized in cooperation with the Mykolaichuk Cultural and Artistic Center in Chernivtsi. The second powerful and effective initiative is the worldwide Ukrainian play readings, coordinated by John Friedman. This is a global initiative that has translated over 200 Ukrainian texts into 12 languages and have organized over 660 readings of Ukrainian plays in more than 40 countries. These platforms bypass institution. They are fast, responsive, and community-driven. They also act as archives of solidarity, creating memory through performance. Let's now turn to full-scale performances, which are increasingly visible across Europe. To better understand the diversity of this production, I suggest a simple 3-part classification based on first, language of performance, Ukrainian with subtitles. This format mostly served Ukrainian diaspora audiences, but also works well for European viewers familiar with subtitled theater, opera, or films. Local language production, staging the play in the language of the audience, for example, German, Polish, English. That increases accessibility, allows local actors and directors to engage, and invites broader critical attention. The second position is the composition of the team or origin of the team. Ukrainian theaters on tour. These bring authentic artistic voices directly from Ukraine. They often perform in Ukrainian and appeal strongly to Ukrainian audiences abroad. Local or mixed European ensembles. These projects are often initiated by European curators or theaters in collaboration with Ukrainian playwrights and translators. And the third category is in institutional format. Professional theaters, state, municipal, or well-established independent theaters offer high-quality production conditions, stronger public outreach, and critical visibility. And amateur or community-based initiatives. They may have fewer resources, but often produce emotionally resonant works and serve key community functions. This classification helps us to better contextualize the examples I will now present, placing each production within a broader map of reception, adaptation, and collaboration. Let me now illustrate how these categories come to life on stage, beginning with 3 examples of production performed in Ukrainian with subtitles. Of course, there are many more such productions across Europe, but due to lack of time, I will focus here on 3 contrasting cases. 2 of them created by professional Ukrainian theaters and 1 by amateur Ukrainian group based in Germany. Kvitka, a song in dreams and reality. This play, written by playwright Oleg Mykolaichuk, performed by the Sadovsky Theatre from Vinnytsia and directed by Taisia Slavinska. In 2025, this production toured multiple cities in Germany, including Berlin, Karlsruhe, Münster, and in Zurich, Switzerland. The play was performed in Ukrainian and German subtitles, making it accessible to both Ukrainian and German audiences. The poetic structure of the piece, combining memory, folklore, and music, made it especially powerful as the vehicle of cultural translation. Audience often described the experience as emotional, intimate, and deeply Ukrainian. This is a model case of a Ukrainian professional theater on tour, maintaining its artistic language while actively engaging with local spectators. The next one is Better If I Had Been Born a Cat, written by Neda Neždana, directed by Volodymyr Zavalnyuk, and performed by actress Hanna Yarenchuk. This monodrama was staged in Kyiv in September 2022 at the International Ukrainian Theatre Festival East-West as a part of cultural events for Ukrainian communities and Polish audiences. Performed in Ukrainian with Polish subtitles, the play offered a feminist perspective on trauma, identity, and survival. It resonated especially strongly with women in exile. Again, we see a case of a Ukrainian professional team bringing a minimal yet emotionally charged production abroad. Closed Sky by Demetrios Theatre. The third example comes from the Demetrios Amateur Theatre, a Ukrainian community group based in Germany. They are staging of Closed Sky, a play by Neda Neždana featured amateur actors performing in Ukrainian with projected subtitles in German provided by translator Julia Grunberg. Despite limited resources, the production succeeded in bringing authentic voices to the stage, voices that spoke directly to the Ukrainian experience of war and exile. This is an excellent case of how amateur initiatives can make a significant cultural impact, particularly in regions where professional theater is absent. These three productions, Kvitka, Cat, and Closed Sky, represent different ends of the institutional spectrum. But what unites them is their commitment to speaking in Ukrainian and to making that voice legible and audible through translation, performance, and presence. Alongside Ukrainian language production with subtitles, there is a growing number of full performances staged entirely in the language of the hosting country, such as German or English. This format offers the highest degree of accessibility for local audiences and increases the chances of critical engagement. These projects are often initiated by local curators or theaters in partnership with Ukrainian playwrights and translators. They usually involve a longer process, but the investment often pays off in terms of visibility and integration. This format has clear advantages. It is better suited for European audiences. It allows easier access to local directors and actors, and it facilitates inclusion into existing repertoires. At the same time, there are some challenges. A high-quality literary translation is essential and takes time. And more importantly, the path to the artistic leadership of theaters, producers, dramaturgs, and directors is often surprisingly complicated for Ukrainian artists and texts. They face structural and institutional barriers that still limit access to mainstream European stages. There are many such examples, but I would like to highlight just 4 performances, each staged in a local European language. The first 3 I had the privilege to attend personally, since I currently live in Germany with my children. So the first one, called Trumpeter in London, written by Inna Honcharova, directed by Volodymyr Sherbany, performed by Kristin Milward in English. This production was a part of a larger initiative to bring contemporary Ukrainian plays to English-speaking audiences. Trumpeter tells the story of a soldier musician caught between war and memory, a powerful monologue on masculinity and national trauma. Performed in English, the play gained resonance not only as a Ukrainian story, but as a universal reflection on the psychological cost of war. Closed Sky in Wiesbaden, written by Neda Neždana, directed by Alexander Miroshnichenko, performed by the Theatre Mist from Kyiv in English. This staging took place at Staats Theatre Wiesbaden with local support. The production managed to maintain the emotional precision of the original Ukrainian text while speaking directly to an English-speaking audience. Fortunately, a lot of German people know English very well. The English translation allowed the play to be heard not as a foreign crime, but as a part of a shared European ethical space. It was a subtle but powerful act of cultural integration. The next one is the play Überleben als Ukrainerin in Heidelberg, or On Living as a Ukrainian. It based on a text by Anastasia Kosady, directed by Georg Zahn from Germany, and performed at Theater Heidelberg in Germany. This is a documentary autobiographical production based on the interviews and reflections in displaced Ukrainian women. Performed in German, it combines personal narrative fragments or war diaries and poetic monologues. Actress Vladlena Sviatyash, herself a Ukrainian refugee, brings profound authenticity to the performance. This was not only a theatrical piece, but a platform for real-time witness, one of the most emotionally charged productions I have seen. Meine Hölle, Heidelberg, written by Oksana Savchenko, directed by Simone Gayers, performed in German translation. This is one of the most haunting and concise texts to emerge from Ukraine since 2022. A minimalist monologue on war, trauma, and survival. The German production used stark visual language and silence as dramaturgical tools. It delivered a visceral emotional experience, especially for those familiar with the reality behind the lines. Another important way in which Ukrainian drama enters the European public space is through translations and publications. Since 2022, we have seen a growing number of anthologies of Ukrainian plays published in various languages, including German, French, Polish, English, Turkish, and Serbian. These publications make the text accessible not only for theater professionals, but also to critics, academics, students, and general readers. They create long-term visibility far beyond one-time performances or readings. One key example is the German anthology Zeitreisen durch die Gegenwart, edited by Lydia Nagel, with present 9 plays in high-quality translation. Another is Ukrainian drama, Scores of War, edited by John Friedman, the first major English language volume of contemporary Ukrainian wartime plays. Publishing has its own challenges. It requires time, funding, and precise translations. Ukraine currently lacks the institutional infrastructure to support cultural export. And yet, a book remains one of the strongest vehicles of cultural diplomacy because it's durable, portable, and respected across borders. Let's now consider how these plays are received. In Germany, critical coverage has notably increased. For example, Deutschlandfunk Kultur, wie ukrainisches Theater den Krieg verarbeitet, Süddeutsche Zeitung, ukrainische Stimmen auf deutschen Bühnen, FAZ, Die Zeit, Nachtkritik, all published essays, interviews, and festival reports on Ukrainian drama. These reviews highlight themes of trauma, witness, and cultural resistance, but they also reveal gaps. Despite the growing interest, Ukrainian drama remains underrepresented in mainstream repertoires. It is often framed as a crisis theater, urgent but not lasting, political but not artistic. But this view is limiting. Ukrainian wartime drama is not only reactive, it is formative. It generates memory, it redefines identity, and it opens a cultural conversation Europe cannot afford to ignore. We also see signs of reception in other countries. In the United Kingdom, The Guardian and The Stage covered worldwide Ukrainian stage readings events and Ukrainian plays in exile. In France, Lectorій and Le Monde published reviews of stage readings and translated text. In Poland, academic journals and theater portals continue to discuss Ukrainian drama as a part of shared regional narrative. Together, these responses help to include Ukrainian theater, not just as emergency content, but as a meaningful and ongoing contribution to Europe's cultural and ethical landscape. While media responses are growing, academic engagement with Ukrainian wartime drama is still limited. There are a few notable scholars, such as Olena Bondareva, Agnieszka Matusiak, John Friedman, and Lydia Nagel, who have offered critical frameworks and translations. But overall, this field is still in its early stages. And that, I believe, is not a weakness, it is a call to action. The very emergence of this material, its quality, complexity, and urgency opens a rich new space for research, teaching, and curatorial practice. As I've tried to show today, Ukrainian wartime drama is not a footnote. It is a body of work that speaks, remembers, resists, and rebuilds. It documents trauma, but it also performs agency. It mourns, but it also defends. It carries a wounded language and transforms it into the theater. So let me return in closing to the question I began with. What does it mean to stage war? Not as spectacular, but empathy, as witness, as dialogue. Ukrainian playwrights are answering that questions. And it is up to us as scholars, artists, and citizens to listen, amplify, and respond. I would like to thank you for your attention. And I'm really grateful to German-Ukrainian Academic Society for such a good opportunity to make that lecture. Also, I'm really grateful to Embassy of Ukraine of the Federal Republic of Germany, to my moderator, Snezhana Zhigun, and everyone who provided me with materials for this presentation.